Hey, everybody. Thanks for checking out the show. It is brought to you by the law offices of Jacob Imrani. If you're in Southern California and you're in any kind of accident, he's the guy you want. 800-345-6789. That's 800-345-6789. One more thing before we start everything off. If you are watching the show on YouTube, please smash the like button. Subscribe to the show, leave us some kind of comment. Maybe you're going to react to something we talk about on the show. Maybe you have a guest idea. Do that on the ESPNLA YouTube page. Also, if you're on Apple or Spotify, please subscribe to the show. Leave us a 5-star rating. Leave us a review or a comment or a reaction or anything in the comments section on Apple and Spotify. That helps a lot, and we appreciate it very much. Again, appreciate you being here. Now, on with the show. Hi, everybody. Welcome to masonplus, episode number 4. Great guest coming up for you. We will be joined by Scott Wolf. You know him from Party of 5. Now he's on Doc. Really smart guy. And he knows sports. Plus, we're going to do a little thumbs up, thumbs down with Dr. Klapper, Dr. Robert Klapper from Cedars-Sinai, and with Glenn Frey's son, Deacon, who now plays in the Eagles. Incredibly talented. So he's going to do that as well. Thumbs up, thumbs down a little bit later on the show. So it's a longish show, so I want to do a quick open. I talk a lot about the Toledo Mudhens. And in about 1979, I won a contest to be the bat boy for the Toledo Mudhens. The next year, I became the scoreboard operator, and I called all of the radio and TV stations when we were on the road and did a little report about where we were, score of the game, how it went down, all that stuff. And then I did that for a few more years. But one of the things I got to do was to go out on the field every day. They gave me a Toledo Mudhens uniform, and you can see the picture right now. In uniform, that's a catcher's glove, Travis tells me, which means somebody must have been throwing to me. It was such an amazing chapter of life. I got to know Gary Ward, Dave Engel, Ron Washington, Frank Viola, Kirby Puckett did rehabs in Toledo. I got to meet him and work with him a little bit. It was just a great, great experience. And, you know, there's lots of joking about my athletic ability. This picture shows me at my peak. I peaked at about 15, 16 years old, and I was actually a good ball player. Baseball player. But since that, I've become just, as you know, from the Mase plant to the accident at the softball game, I own these things, but my athlete days are clearly over. The other thing I wanted to show you is back in must have been 2000 or so. I was fired by Fox, and all of a sudden I had nothing. I had no savings. I couldn't find a job. I was having a really hard time. I had just left WNEW in New York, where it was just an absolute grind. Rewarding in the end, but a grind while it was going on. So after I left WNEW, I was like, I want to go see the world. So among the places I went to Sydney, Australia to do the Olympics, which was fantastic. Then I went to Africa, and I started out, and you can see it here, see the picture, at the pyramids, the pyramids of Giza, the plateau there. It was an extraordinary experience. It is hard to believe that in ancient times, they were able to build those pyramids. Just absolutely incredible. And from there, I hooked up with my minister, Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith from Agape, is the name of the church. And I followed them to Ghana. We went to Accra in Ghana, saw the Point of No Return, which was a castle right on the coast where they would catch, I guess, slaves and bring them to this castle. And they went through a door of no return where they went out to a ship and got shipped to either Great Britain or to America. And you could feel the echoes of the anguish, is the best way I can say it. And then went to Senegal, Dakar, absolutely beautiful, had a great time there. Went to Cote d'Ivoire, and I was just really experimenting. Some of the time I was with my group from church. Some of the time I was just doing my own thing, and it was incredible to experience that by myself. A little bit crazy, and I'm sure a little bit dangerous, particularly Cairo, but it was an amazing and rewarding experience. And from there, I did get a job down in San Diego with John Lynch for about a year, and then wound up working with John Ireland again at ESPN LA. Best move ever. 22 years later, I've got masonplus, and I've got a great guest. He was a star of Party of Five. He also is now a regular on the series doc, and the season finale is tonight. It's been picked up for season 3, but if you're a doc fan, tonight is the end of season number 2, so you can check that out. I am joined right now by Scott Wolf. Take a look at our conversation.
Hey, Scott. Thanks for coming on, man.
Absolutely. Great to see you. Thank you for having me.
So we were just talking a little bit before the show started, your hockey career.
Yeah.
I want to know from you, in your hockey career, what was your apex? How good did you get?
All right. So my apex has less to do with how good I was as a player, and it has more to do with the opportunity I was given. So basically, I didn't skate very much. I grew up in New Jersey, born in Boston, but did most of my growing up in New Jersey. I was a wrestler in high school, and this was in the 1980s in New Jersey. And the little I can say is there was a hazing incident involving my wrestling coach that resulted in that person no longer being allowed to coach wrestling.
Really?
That's correct. Yeah. And I don't think I think the case is sealed. I can't say any more than that. But what I can say is that one of my best friends started taking me out to the ponds that had frozen over, taught me how to skate, was like, you got to come play hockey. So I started in high school. I was god awful. I survived, if I could stay on my feet for the entire game, it was a huge success. And then when I got to LA, there was some really great pickup hockey that I started to get involved in. And somehow, as I got a little bit older, my feet felt a little better under me. I felt a little more coordinated. And so I started playing pickup hockey. Really well-known movie producer, one of the greats of all time, Jerry Bruckheimer, had this great skate. And so I'd go play with those guys. And eventually I kind of got known as one of these, schmachters who plays hockey. And so I got to play in these great charity games, which was always a blast. And, I think it's common where it's like you talk to, athletes and they think, I want to be a rock star, and rock stars maybe want to be in movies. And so there's always this admiration within our fields, but also outside of it. So to get to skate alongside these professional players in these games is just such a treat. And Dennis Leary, the actor and comedian, had this really wonderful game at the Worcester Centrum where he grew up. He unfortunately lost some very close friends, basically family, in a fire, and created this really great charity game. So there was a Bruins alumni team playing a bunch of us schmoes. And the captain of the Bruins alumni team was Bobby Orr.
Wow.
Now, Bobby Orr, for me, I've been number 4 all my life, every sport I've ever played, born in Boston. I just have reverence for this guy, and hugest fan of his. He's really kind of what got me into hockey as a kid. And so he's there. I meet him behind the scenes, and I'm kind of, flubbing my words. And he's like, hey, Scott, it's good to meet you. He just doesn't want to do the I'm Bobby Orr thing. He's so down, right? He's so down to earth and so humble. And game starts, we start playing, and it's this Bruin alumni team. And I'm, playing forward. So I'm out by the blue line and a pass comes across and we're in the centrum and it's packed. We're in a giant arena.
Wow.
And I tip this puck. It comes across and I tip it and it goes out to center ice. And I just start running it down and I'm skating. And I take this thing at center ice. And now it's almost like a penalty shot. And it's just me and Reggie Lemelin, the old Bruins goalie, who's in there waiting for me. And I feel someone behind me. And I'm pretty sure it was Cam Neely. And basically, he's just kind of jabbing me in the back with his stick. So he's kind of like, someone's here. You're not alone, but I'm going to let you do whatever you do here. And so he let me go in on the goalie. And I just had one of those moments, Steve, where I was like, I don't know. Like, I was delivered this ability for like 8 seconds. And I like go to my backhand and I throw a top shelf goal over his, blotter.
Shelf goal?
Top shelf backhand. And I turn around. And so all my team comes in and they're, banging me on the head. And I turn around and I look and Bobby Orr is leaning over the boards like this, like, come give me a high five. That was awesome. And I'm skating towards him and I'm like, somebody get a gun and shoot me immediately after this high five because I've peaked. Like, this is the top moment of my life.
Wow.
And we had this high five. And sadly, there's no photo of that moment because it would be poster sized in every room of my house.
I'm sure it would.
But that was the peak of my hockey career.
That is odd. What a moment. What an unbelievable moment. Now, I'm trying to remember if I've seen you play. I've been to a few of these celebrity games. Like, there was one this last year for the Palisades fire that the Kings.
Yeah.
Did you play in that one?
I was asked to play in it and I was working and I couldn't. But I was so bummed I had to miss that. That was a really special one, obviously, for a great cause.
Yeah.
So, I couldn't play in that one. But, you see the same kind of cast of guys in a lot of them.
Who's the best? What of the celebrity folk? I've seen Steve Carell. He played in that game. He looked pretty good. Who's the best?
Yes. Gosh, I mean, it's been a while since I've played in those games. There's an actor named Cam Bancroft. We were friends way back and still connected. And Cam was, he born in Vancouver and played, I don't think he ever played juniors or anything, but he was really good. There's some guys who can really skate out there. I think Justin Bieber's pretty good.
Justin Bieber was at that game last year.
Yeah.
He was really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Knew what he was doing. It's impressive.
Yeah.
We had Andrzej Kopitar on our radio show yesterday, King's all-time leading scorer.
Yeah.
And there's something about being at a hockey game, experiencing the sounds and the cold and all that stuff. What is it for you that's great about hockey?
Oh, man. I mean, well, look, I've now had this great fortune through the course of some of these charity events and different things to get to know some of these guys that play the game. And everyone that I know, these are just like, as a generalization, the guys that play the game are just kind of salt of the earth people, A lot of them grew up playing, in working class towns in, Canada, all over the world, really, in the States. And I don't know, there's just a real, a real sort of genuine, authentic feeling about the people that play it. It's definitely a game that's more fun to watch in person.
Right.
I think, televised hockey, I still watch it every day.
Yeah.
But, TV has always kind of tried to optimize it. They had the glowing puck for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but seeing games live is just, it's incredible. I mean, and I think they're probably, maybe it's catching up now, and especially with this big Olympic win, but they're probably the most underrated athletes on the planet.
Yeah.
I mean, just to skate as well as they skate, they skate better than most people walk. And then they hold this stick and control this puck. And so the amount of strength and finesse and speed and athleticism it takes is outrageous. And a funny thing happened where I got to take my son, Jackson, to his first game. I was hosting a show in New York City. And I got someone from Madison Square Garden reached out and said, would you want to come see a Ranger game? So I said, absolutely. I said, I've got my son and then my best friend that I played hockey with in high school and his son who now plays in high school. And the four of us are going to go to this game. It was awesome. So I go to the ticket window And the lady's like, oh, no, you got to go around your tickets aren't here. They're around the side. There's a door halfway down the block. I was like, all right. It's like, all right, guys, we go to this door. We go into this this private entrance.
Yeah.
And they bring us in and they take us up to this like restaurant. And my son's there like eating shrimp cocktail. And I'm like, Jackson, I think it's very important that you understand this is not a hockey game. This is just something else. Like we're going to see hockey played. Yeah. But the next time we come, it's probably, it's going to be hot dogs and no special door around the side. He's like, fine, whatever. No shrimp cocktail. So they take us to our seats. We're like a few rows off the glass, behind the benches. And again, I'm like, Jack, these are very good seats. And, next time probably up there somewhere. And
yep.
He's like, fine. Halfway, through the intermission and the periods, there's like a little lounge where we go have sushi or some such thing. And I'm like, Jackson, honey, I don't know how to tell you this, but I know it keeps getting better and better, but like, this is great. I'm glad this is your first hockey kick. So like second period, there's this little chippy play in front of us. And like a player tossed it to a 5-year-old person. This puck comes floating over and boink in his hands.
No.
And now he's on the Jumbotron.
Oh.
His first hockey game. And the place is going nuts. And I was like, all right, forget it. Well, this is like your only hockey game. I'm never going to bring you back because you've checked such unbelievable boxes here. But it was awesome. And I go, so, this new show I'm on, Doc, shoots up in Toronto. And so I've been able to get up and see the Leafs a bunch of times. And they're having a hard time right now, but to see hockey in, one of the original 6 buildings like that,
yeah.
With the fandom and I just absolutely love it. And I feel like it's very there's something so alive about it. Like you said, it's cold, it's crisp, it's the sort of echoes and the sounds of it, and literally moment to moment. A lot of other sports have kind of set. Like all these players in the outfield are here, and like all the line of scrimmage is here. And hockey, obviously, they have face-offs, but then everything is just so fluid that it just feels like anything can happen at any time. It's really exciting sport.
It is fun. I'm getting ready for the playoffs. I'm hoping the Kings get in there 1 point out. 1 point out.
How many games left?
I think there's 6 games left.
Yeah.
So they got to do some doing here. Got to do some doing.
Yeah. I spent a lot of time in LA, and so I became a Kings fan. And when I was playing in all those pickup games, we'd always go see the Kings. And so I've definitely got a place in my heart for that team. And I hope they make it.
So let's talk about Doc, which the season finale is tonight on Fox, and then it'll stream on Hulu and all that stuff. So when I first heard the premise of Doc, so doctor loses her memory in a traumatic accident and then continues to treat patients, I was like, wait a minute. Wait a minute here.
Yes.
What did you think when you heard the premise for the show?
So it's probably something similar. Although the minute you kind of enter into the world and if you watch season 1, the show does a very good job, as most medical series that are on in this day and age, of really taking good care of being good stewards of the profession. Because it's crucial. I mean, these are heroes among us. These are life-saving people. And to sort of, have misrepresent, what they do or belittle it in some way is something the show would never do. So what you come to realize right away is that this person has lost a chunk of her life, 8 years of her life.
Yes.
And within that time, there were certain advances in medicine and certain practices. So she grew in her medicine during that time. But the rest of her life she has. So she still is capable of practicing medicine at a certain level.
Yeah.
That's the level. So when she is granted the chance to re-enter this world, it is at this kind of diminished place from where she had gotten to. And it basically fit so that, her practicing medicine and treating patients was safe.
Yeah.
And she still has this, similar to like House, which was a great medical show on Fox. she just has this gift, this uncanny ability to, to diagnose and to sort of synthesize information. And so she still is that person. She's just without data from this period of time in her life.
Right.
It just so happens that the data in that period is loss of a child, divorce, effectively her entire personality shifting.
Yeah.
And so when she wakes up to the reality of living a day-to-day life where she's being treated as a person she doesn't remember.
Right.
And I'll tell you this is the one thing I can say is that my reaction when I first heard it was I felt like, well, that's a fascinating dynamic, but like how much yardage is there? Like how much runway do we have to keep telling that story? And credit to our executive producers, showrunners, Barbie Kligman and Hank Steinberg, all hail. They have found the most inventive, creative, real feeling relationship to that missed time and how it reemerges.
Yeah.
And so, the one thing I realized halfway through season 1 that shifted everything for me was that it's not like a light switch. The brain is such a mysterious function that it's not as if it's like, will the switch flip and she'll have her 8 years back?
Right.
It's more likely an incremental thing.
Yeah, little pieces of it, right?
Little pieces based on some kind of input you're having, some life experience you're having now triggers some neural pathway and it comes back online.
Yeah.
And so the way they play with what she can and can't remember and what comes back and how it serves the current time is incredible. And it makes it turned it into that's a very cool idea that I can't see how long you could tell that story.
Yeah.
Just sort of limitless, really, possibility. So they've done an incredible job.
The pitch is, buddy of mine is Bryan Cranston. And when Bryan told me before Breaking Bad, he said, "Yeah, I get the show. They're pitching me. It's, I'm a school teacher and I've got cancer and I start selling meth." And I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking, oh, I don't know, Bryan. Not sure if this is the right one. And again, found that runway like your show did, found that runway to explore that story, and it totally works.
Yeah, and you put, what was the key dynamic there is Bryan Cranston.
Yes.
You put that very same set of story points in potentially different hands, and it's a failed pilot. But he turns it in. It was incredible, and Vince Gilligan's a ridiculously great writer. But it's funny you bring that up because on this show on Doc, I feel like in some ways I'm giving myself kind of high praise here.
Sure.
But I'm in a way the kind of Jesse Pinkman of Doc, because the lore is, and I think it's pretty well established now, that Jesse Pinkman, his character was only supposed to last through the first season.
He was going to be gone. Yeah.
He was going to be gone, and he was so incredible, and their chemistry was so incredible, and he brought such dimensionality to the thing that they had no choice but to keep him around. And in this case, this was supposed to be a 1-season thing. I played basically the villain of season 1. And I refer to him as the accidental villain because he's a guy who's like a good person, a good doctor, a good family person. He makes a terrible mistake, doesn't feel safe coming clean, lies about it, and then off he is into this awful world of having to cover it. Right. And lie to people and betray people and betray himself. And but they told the story in such a way where they really allowed for the audience to see the behind the scenes of what was making this person do what he was doing.
Right.
They showed his family. He's got a son who's dealing with severe mental illness, and the management of it and how taxing it was played a part in this mistake he made. And played a part in why he feels like if I come clean and give my life away and my career away, I've got nothing. I can't help these people that I love, and I can't help my son. And they told it in such a way that was, they really allowed him to be a much more fully rounded human character. And then the audience was put in this great position of, like, in episodes 7 and 8 of season 1 out of 10 episodes, they showed his family. And right when you were willing to, like, shove this guy off the nearest bridge, you were like, oh no, like, wait, I get it. I mean, maybe I'd be doing that if I were him. And that's beautiful storytelling because
Yeah, what a
it's,
great layer. The layers of this story are really powerful.
really powerful. And the relationship between Amy, who's played by Molly Parker, who's incredible, and my character Richard, they've told this. It's my favorite thing I've ever been given a chance to be a part of. Not largely because of Molly and how incredible she is, but this relationship is so beautifully complicated. They were very, very close at one point in their lives for a long time. And they've gotten fractured by all this stuff that's happened. And so instead of it just being a surface level good guy, bad guy, and this is how they fight, it's these two people who loved each other but can't anymore. And it's like, now they're hurting each other, even though there's all this life shared under the surface. And so this sense of like, will they ever find a way through all this pain that's living on the surface? And this is in a hospital show.
Right, right.
It's like where we, treat patients every week and everyone gets to see like a medical mystery get solved. That's what's extraordinary about how these shows are created and executed anymore. To be telling these types of stories with Doc that are incredible and interesting and finite. It's like we wrap up a medical story in one episode.
Yeah.
But there's
an ongoing arc that makes that much richer experience.
Yeah, and when two people are standing over the bed of a patient and they're patient focused, and the big idea of this story is we're going to save this person, but all of this stuff that's flowing back and forth beneath the surface. Yeah, it's there's a reason why we're heading into a third season, and we're in very good hands creatively. Fox has been great to the show, and I've never been more proud of anything in my work.
That's
right,
awesome, man. So John C. McGinley was on the show yesterday, and he plays Dr. Cox on Scrubs, and I was asking him about medical jargon, and he just like immediately spit out stuff. He said, "I don't know what any of this means, but here is some medical jargon that's stuck in his brain." Do you have any medical jargon stuck in your brain?
Well, for some reason, myocardial infarction is the thing that always wants to just jump out.
Yeah.
Multiple pleural edemas. That was the tough one. Multiple pleural edemas. Yeah. And running next to a gurney. The paramedic said likely multiple pleural edemas. I was thank you. I got it out of my face. Sometimes, I like to understand best case scenario what it is I'm saying. Google's great and WebMD is fantastic, and we've got a great there's actually doctors former doctors on the writing staff.
Oh, God.
And medical advisor on set, and so where the tubes go and what we say when we're doing what is obviously we want it to look not like Monty Python. So we're surrounded by people who help with that.
All right, I want to get to part of your five, but first we do a thing on the show called Don't Think. Don't think. So I'm going to throw you.
It sounds dangerous.
It could be.
Okay.
I'm going to throw you a phrase or a word, and I just want your instant reaction.
Right.
Okay. Number one, first audition.
Yoshinoya Beef Bowl. It was a commercial for Yoshinoya Beef Bowl. It was like a fast food chain in LA.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to say anything. I just had to hold a fake bowl and go.
Oh, very nice. That's a good gig.
And guess what? Huh. I got it.
Excellent.
First
one for one, right?
1 for 1. Bat to foul.
Nice. Number two, Hollywood.
Dreams. I Hollywood was good to me. And oh God, sorry.
Getting a call?
Yeah, wait, give me 1 second. I'm so sorry.
No worries.
How do let me turn this off. Sorry, bud.
That's all right. Dreams.
Okay. I'm gonna do a new one. Say that again.
Okay. Hollywood.
Dreams. Yeah. I think dreams, people go there to fulfill their dreams. Mm-hmm. I think dreams come true there. There's something about even that word that evokes something kind of mystical. And I think that's diminished some, since the 30s and the 40s. And, it's now, I don't know. It's now not floating off the ground quite as much as it did, but a lot of my dreams came true there professionally. And so, yeah, dreams.
Very nice. Number 3 here is stethoscope.
Backwards.
Backwards.
I put it on backwards all the time. So you're supposed to, they curve like this.
Yep.
And you're supposed to have them curving towards the front of your face. But for some reason, it's counterintuitive for me. I'm like, my eye here this way, sound comes here. So I point them backwards. And oftentimes I have to redo takes because my stethoscope. That's where it becomes Monty. That's where it becomes Monty Python.
Sure. All right, here's one. Teen idol.
Former. I never thought of myself that way. There was this recent 90s trend online, and I jumped in and I, rooted around online and found some old pictures of myself. And then the response that came back online, the people commenting, was really overwhelming. And I was like, oh yeah, that was, I think I might have fit the bill back then.
Yeah, you were on it back then. Last one, method acting.
Misunderstood.
Okay.
Misunderstood.
I think of those guys that are like, I'm in character all the time, and you have to call me by my character name and stuff like that. To me, I feel like that might be annoying, but you think it's misunderstood.
Well, because I do think that method acting comprises a lot more than staying in character 24/7. That's the most extreme sort of iteration of it. And the Daniel Day-Lewis's that you hear about, where you go on the set of Lincoln and you're introduced to President Lincoln. And I heard someone talk about it the other day. I want to say it might have been, I think it was Martin Scorsese, and he goes, look, it's easier, really, to just stay in character. And he's got a point, but method acting is so much more than that. I mean, I feel like part of what I do has elements of that. I think method acting in some way is, it's a body of tools from which you can work. Some of it is using sense memories, some of personal experiences, some of it is how you access emotion in yourself. So it's a whole sort of world, it's a whole tool bag.
Yeah.
And I think the staying in character 24/7 is what most people think when they hear method acting.
Yeah.
And they think it's kooky and like, just be an actor, and they call rap and you go home and, make tuna fish. And they're kind of right for the most part.
Sure.
Right? I mean, it is a clock in, clock out gig. But method acting, really, for I think the people who utilize it, it's really just, it's a set of tools to manage the problems that are presented to you as an actor. And so method acting, yay. The sort of kooky interpretation of it that most people think, and that narrow view of it, I think, is misunderstood, is why I chose that word.
You have survived, don't think.
Okay, good. I didn't get myself in it. I didn't get canceled.
No, nothing. You said nothing inappropriate. All right, so what was your life like before Party of Five and after Party of Five? Is that like a defining line in your life, what was before and what was after?
Well, so, yeah, I would say so. And not even the doing of Party of Five. I would say that the getting on the show and the starting to make the show was definitely transformative, because it was the first time I really felt like I was given the chance to be an actor day to day. I was an aspiring actor. And, I was, I still, when people say, well, what do you do? I say, I'm working on, an acting career. And maybe after that started, it was that it sort of gave me a weird internal permission to say I'm an actor. But for the few years prior, I mean, look, I grew up in Boston and New Jersey. I was like, played sports and, dated and went to college and fumbled around trying to figure out what to do with myself, majored in finance and studied enough finance to know I didn't want to work in finance. And then had this kind of fluky thing where someone recommended I try acting, and I did. And when I started, I hoped it would be this kind of revelatory, I've found my my purpose in the world, but I had no idea if it would be that or not. Ironically, and look, I've come to believe in these things. It's just, it's like sometimes you're like, is this a simulation? But John C. McGinley, who you just mentioned, who was just on your show.
Yes.
I was at a little restaurant in West Orange, New Jersey, the eve of jumping in my Toyota Celica to drive to Hollywood. And my friends we were having like a last dinner where they were basically sending me off. And and I was going off to begin what I hoped would be a career in acting. And at the time, I remember my friends were like, well, how long are you going to be out there? And I was like, well, I'm not going for a period of time. I'm going to do this thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, I plan on doing it. If I can't, or it doesn't work, I hope God gave me the sense to pivot at some point, but I'm going to go do this. And it just so happened, one of my buddies was like, hey, isn't that the dude from Wall Street? Or what, he had been in stuff.
Oh yeah.
I think he was from that area, maybe.
He was. In fact, we're going to talk. He was a big New York Giants fan.
Okay.
He's a big New York Giants fan.
So he happens to just be in this place. And they're like, go talk to him. So I went over to the bar and I just said, hey, I just want to say I'm a fan. And I'm literally driving to Hollywood tomorrow. And to be brutally honest, I can't remember what he said. But he was very kind and supportive and like, good luck. And so bizarre that like answering that question, we just talked about him. But yeah, then when so then I was just kind of like, it was, commercial here, little guest spot on a show there, and just piecemeal, just sort of breaking through layers and getting a little bit bigger of a job and a little better of an opportunity. And finally the script for Party of Five landed on me. And what was kind of cool was it felt like in the figuring out of like, what was this work asking of me? Like, how can I participate in this in a way that is, that I feel, like I have a little bit of, understanding or confidence, or just a sense of like how to like throw myself at it.
Yeah.
And I would find myself hit these plateaus of, ooh, wait, my head would kind of come above the clouds and I'd be like, oh, wait, I get this much and I'm ready to do this much. And I had hit one of those moments and I was like, oh, I'm ready for something real to show up. I feel like I really am ready to do this work. And I saw a lot of people get opportunities, my peers at the time, that they weren't really above the clouds yet. And it buried them, they got opportunities they weren't prepared for. And I was ready, and thank God, like that's when Party of Five, the script landed. And it just felt like, whoa. This would be meaningful if somehow I was given a chance to do something like this now.
Yeah.
And I auditioned for it. And I think that sense in a person walking in the room matters. I think people feel some of that. And I just happened to be very right for the guy. I also happened to be 24, auditioning for a kid turning 16.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
And thankfully that was sort of the norm back then. And then when I got the show and I started doing the show, that was life-changing personally, because I started to feel like I was actually starting to utilize myself in work that was meaningful and important, and there were stakes. There were a lot of people counting on all of our participation, and I just felt like a professional person in this work for the first time. But then, the show was sort of endangered. Like it was very kind of low rated in the beginning. And so we went through a period of time where nobody was sure whether we'd, continue. We would come to work. I think we aired on Mondays, I want to say it was in the beginning. And we'd come to work Tuesday, like, are we still like, click, the lights still work? Okay, we can keep making the show.
Wow.
But it was tenuous and heartbreaking because we believed in what we were doing and it just wasn't finding an audience yet. And then we started to really kind of catch on. We won a Golden Globe early on the second season. And then once that happened and there became a whole public part of what we were doing, that was life-changing in its own way. The little I would want to say about it is that I feel like I've always had an easy relationship with it all because I don't, I just see it as a dynamic of the work I do.
Yeah.
But I also I like people and I value other people's, points of view. And if I am able to do work in the world that matters to somebody else, that's an extraordinary gift.
Yeah.
And to have that be many, many times over and have people come up and say, I love the show. And I love that. And as I've, gone on and had children and, I've enjoyed this nice little sort of circumference of public awareness where I get to just live my life. I get to go to the grocery store and the gas station and fly where I want and have my family and my heart goes out to people who have much more intrusion than that because that's not easy. But yeah, so life changed forever with Party of Five.
Yeah.
And but all really for the better. And to this day, like when this 90s trend that just happened and when I put this post out, I mean, it feels like it was 2 weeks ago. Not necessarily to me, but to the people that like when those pictures come up, it just like fires a time in their minds in the 90s and what that show meant. And I'm really proud of having been part of something like that. And I'm forever grateful because the reason we're sitting here talking now is because that show meant something to people and everyone who was a part of it has, at least been given a shot to keep going.
Yeah, well, it sure has stood the test of time. I mentioned that I was going to have you on people at ESPN yesterday, and they're like, "Oh, Party of Five."
Yeah,
Party of Five super fan.
It's so great. It's so great. And there's a lot of there were a lot of closet super fans who were just like, my girlfriend makes me watch. But
yes, exactly. So I want to talk about the New York Football Giants. You have grown up a New York Giants fan.
Yep. Very, very, very early was a Jets fan.
Okay.
Went through a Jets Yankees phase.
Okay.
In the kind of mid to late 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And then as the decade changed into the 80s, it was Giants and Mets.
Normally it goes Giants and Yankees together, right?
That's
kind of breaking that template.
That norm. I did.
Yeah,
I did break that template. Yeah. Usually you are Rangers, Giants, Yankees.
Yep.
Or you are like Islanders, Mets, Jets.
Yes.
And so I didn't pay close attention to that particular template. But I lucked out a little bit. It looked fair weather, okay? Because I did become a Mets fan like
in the 80s.
Around 86.
Pretty good back then.
They were pretty good. But I worked with some people. I caddied at a golf club in New Jersey, and two of my best buddies there were big Mets fans. And so I started going to Mets games. That was in like 84, 85. And that was a good time to decide to like the Mets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And they obviously got into my dad's favorite team was the Mets. He loved the Mets in the 80s in particular. I'll tell you a story.
Yeah.
So my dad, who's passed away, was just an autograph hound and loved to get autographs. So we were in Pittsburgh at a game at Three Rivers Stadium, and my dad was down on the railing, and he was trying to get autographs. It was like him and a bunch of fourth graders with baseballs, and he signed my baseball. I'm like, oh, Dad. So anyway, he starts yelling for Darryl Strawberry. He says, Straw! And he's calling for Darryl Strawberry. And finally, Strawberry's like, all right, I'll walk over to this guy. And when he gets there, my dad says, can you send Gooden over? I don't have him yet. What? So ridiculous.
Using Darryl Strawberry as a gopher.
Exactly.
It's so great. Oh, that's classic. Did he do it?
Oh, yeah, he did. He absolutely sent him up. My dad got basically the whole team on that ball. It was unbelievable. He basically
as vocal as you needed to be to get every autograph.
Yes, hysterical. That's so good.
So you're a New York Football Giants fan. Are you optimistic about the Giants? John Harbaugh's now there. I like Jackson Dart a lot. Cam Scatterboo, all that stuff.
Yes. Yeah, great across the board. I think the Harbaugh thing has changed the equation for everybody, obviously. I feel like I have been optimistic at the beginning of every season for the past however many.
Yeah.
And, a game or two in, that's crushed. But, we're, hoping and praying we stay healthy because we've got a lot of talent on that roster. And we've got a guy leading it that knows how to win and knows it just brings such an incredible culture with him. And, I think, it was hard as a Giants football fan over the last season or two to not start to feel like we were not in a really high level conversation as a competitive franchise,
Right.
We were always just flailing, and it was like, are we rebuilding? Are we trying to win? Like, who even are we? And I think John Harbaugh just, he has an identity as a leader and as a coach. And it's not just a Ravens identity. It's a Harbaugh identity.
Yeah.
And so it was like the second that happened, it was like, wait a minute, we're serious. We're a serious football team today.
Yeah.
No matter what our roster looks like. And then you start to look around and you go, I don't think a guy like him charges towards the Giants unless he's looking around.
Yep.
Going, these are guys I want to play with, and these guys I want to win with. And some of the acquisitions they've made and the trades they've made in the free agency, I mean, I was like, they want to win now.
Oh, yeah. He didn't go there to with a long runway. He went there to win.
No, to win. And yeah, Jackson Dart's super exciting. I want him to
be more
take care of himself. Yeah. I love that he's got such an incredible style. He's so fun to watch, and he's unpredictable. But far be it from me. I'm just little old schmackter me. But like, I feel like he's a guy who probably ran over people most of his career.
Yeah.
And everyone on the field now is capable of doing damage if you're being reckless.
Absolutely. All right, last thing for you.
Yeah.
Eli Manning, Hall of Fame, no Hall of Fame?
Hall of Fame. 2 Super Bowl victories, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, one when it counted most. I look at his career when he had good pass protection, when he had, good tools around him, and he was as good as anybody. He struggled sometimes with the roster. I always felt like, again, little schmackter me, like I felt like they, sometimes exposed him a little bit. I don't think they schemed in ways that played to the weaknesses elsewhere on the field.
Yep.
And so I just think he's so good for the game. I think what he and Peyton are doing with their shows, and I think he was great for the game at the time. And I think just 2 Super Bowl MVPs. I don't know what his overall record was, but
his regular season stats are fine.
Right.
It's what he did in the postseason. And to me, what he did in the postseason, and by the way, I was standing on the field when David Tyree made that catch in the Super Bowl.
You were. Yep. So wait, you're a Giants fan?
I am not. I was covering it for ESPN, but I was Patriots hater. And I loved that moment so much. It was so
unbelievable.
Good. But unbelievable. Those kinds of performances are what define him as a Hall of Fame. I think he absolutely should be in the Hall of Fame.
I do too. And I think there's, like you're saying, there's different standards by which people make it there. I happened to be in Indianapolis for the 2012 win. And
nice.
The Manningham catch down there. And was it Welker? The drop?
Yeah.
It happened right in front of us, and I lost my voice going bananas. I was only Super Bowl I've ever been at and watched my team.
Picked a good one.
You picked a good one. Beauty. So I will say I'm not equipped to say whether he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame or not. I would love to see Eli Manning in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, there you go. Hey,
Yeah.
dude, this has been awesome, man. Thank you so much for coming on. The season finale of Doc is on tonight on Fox, and then it'll stream on Hulu and all that stuff. You definitely catch up on it. Scott, it's so great to have you on. Thank you very much, and appreciate your time a lot.
Oh, I loved it, man. Thank you so much.
I like that. Scott knows his sports, huh? Little hockey, little New York Giants football. Very optimistic. Good for him. I think John Harbaugh will create a winning culture there with Jackson Dart and Cam Scattaboo. But that's for another day. We'll dig into that. In the meantime, hey, we play a game here on the show. It's called Thumbs Up, Thumbs Down. Let's roll. And time right now for a little thumbs up, thumbs down. I am joined by Dr. Robert Klapper, head of orthopedics at Cedars-Sinai Hospital, and Deacon Frey, who is part of the Eagles, just played Sphere over the weekend. Guys, thanks a lot for coming on. Thanks a lot for doing this.
My pleasure.
So I want to ask you just a couple of things before we get started on thumbs up, thumbs down. So start with you, Doc. I want to know from you, I've never asked you this. I want to know from you, what was going through your mind the first time you had a scalpel in your hand and the first time you performed surgery?
Wow. Okay. The first time was in the Bronx VA, and I was operating on a veterinarian. And I'll never forget because I said, "What do you do for a living?" He goes, "I'm a veterinarian." I go, "Wow, you still doing?" He goes, "No, I'm retired." He says, "Doc, I was the veterinarian for the Bronx Zoo, all the animals." And I remember looking at him going, "Oh my God, what an amazing job." And I just remember just holding the scalpel because you can only see it so much. But it's a whole different world when you got that knife in your hand. And I just remember having this voice of God in the room with me. I see God in two places in my life, in the operating room and when I go surfing in the ocean.
Nice.
That's awesome.
By the way, Deacon, he is what you call, Dr. Klapper is what you call a raconteur. He knows a lot about a lot of different things. He's a great conversationalist. He's one of those guys. So I appreciate Dr. Klapper being on the show. So Deacon, you guys played Sphere over the weekend, right?
Yep.
So I've seen you guys at Sphere. I got to say, it was one of the great concert experiences of my life.
Wow.
You are terrific. You did Peaceful, Easy Feeling, which was one of the highlights of the entire show. I think Vince Gill is great. Joe Walsh is Joe Walsh. I mean, it is such a fun show. So when you're on stage at Sphere, how does it differ for you from when you're playing a traditional stage?
Well, for one thing, the sound system is a lot different. Like we don't have our guitar amps on stage or anything. Everything is all in our ears.
No.
And it all has to be synced up to what's happening behind us, right, on the screens.
Right.
So that took a while to adjust to. Like when we started rehearsals for that, we just had everything in our ears. And it's kind of weird because you're used to hearing the crowd and hearing the house. You know, some buildings, I mean, you want to hear the acoustics are good in some buildings and they're not good in other buildings. But that took a while to adjust to. But once you get used to it, I mean, that place is just incredible.
It's insane.
There's nothing like it on earth.
And when you're 150 feet tall or whatever it is, and you're doing Peaceful, Easy Feeling, what would happen if you turned around and looked at yourself playing?
I'd probably fall down. It's most of the time I'm closing my eyes anyways, just because I'm trying not to mess up. But there are a couple songs where I'm not singing lead and I get to kind of look around and be like, wow, this is incredible.
The one non-Eagles song that you do, it's a Don Henley song. You do Boys of Summer. And for me, and you can tell Don this, mention this to him.
I will.
I think it's one of the great records ever made, one of the great singles ever made. It is brilliant. And
And the way you guys do it with the vibe of the original video, which was so good, is just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I love that too. That's one of my favorite parts of the show because I don't have to sing anything. I can kind of just enjoy the song.
Yeah. You know, Doc, they have this thing at the beginning, this big image across the sphere, where they've got all of Los Angeles, like all of the landmarks of Los Angeles. This is how they start the show. So you see the Hollywood Bowl and you see Griffith Park Observatory and you see just looking across the city. It is amazing. It's such a way to start. If you're an Angelino, it's such a great way to start the show because you've been to virtually all these places. So super, super cool. Actually, random question. So if you've got a friend, this is for both of you, if you've got a friend that comes to town and has never been to Los Angeles, and you can take them to see one thing, Dr. Klapper, what would you take them to see?
The pier at Manhattan Beach.
At Manhattan Beach?
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good one.
The feng shui where you want a river in front of you and a mountain behind you is Manhattan Beach. You got the ocean, and because of the topography, it's not like Hermosa Beach. It's not like Malibu, where it looks, it's similar to Malibu, but the way you walk out, you have this amazing feng shui, and that's where I send them.
What about you, Deacon?
It's tough to choose one, but first thing that pops to mind is probably take them to Philippe's, the original.
Yeah.
For the sandwich.
I like that.
Wait, can I ask Deacon a question?
Sure.
Yeah.
I recently heard that Pharrell and Stevie Wonder think of music, audio, but they see it in colors, where you have the different sense. They have a whole term for it at Juilliard, apparently. But Deacon, do you see the music in colors, even though it's audio?
No, not for me. I forget what they call anesthesia or something like that. Yeah. No, I don't. I just hear it.
That's fantastic. Just hear it. Well, you kill over there at the Sphere, and Doctor, you don't kill. Thank you.
Thankfully.
All right, so here we go. You got your paddles ready to go, and I am going to give you some statements, and then you're going to tell me if you agree or disagree with the statements. Okay, let's start with this. Group texting is annoying. Group texting is annoying. Agree? Disagree. Okay. So you use group texting a lot, Deacon?
Yeah. It's convenient, it's good for certain things. But then, I get, the phone keeps buzzing and buzzing and buzzing. If there's a lot of people in the group, everyone's responding to each other. They might not be talking specifically to you. So it might not be anything that you even care or want to care about, reading or responding to. So it can get annoying to me.
That's the part that annoys me. Doc, what about you?
I only use it. I don't use it in my professional world, but I use it with the folks that I go surfing with. And so it allows me to know before I get out of bed and go to the spot before the sun comes up. I find it very valuable to know whether to get out of bed or not.
Good. Okay. Here's statement number 2. The Godfather is the greatest movie of all time. Agree or disagree? Thumbs up, thumbs down. A lot of thinking. Dr. Klapper says yes. Deacon. Agree? Why'd you have to think about it so hard, Deacon?
There's so many movies that personally I I will watch, in my free time more than The Godfather, but I think objectively you have to think about it that way. It's a perfect movie.
Yeah, it is a perfect movie. All right, here we go. This one you'll like, Deacon. LeBron James is the GOAT. LeBron James is the GOAT. No. All right, here we go. Deacon, who's the GOAT?
For me, it's Kobe. He's the carbon copy of MJ, who is 90% of the world's GOAT. He's the closest thing you ever seen to MJ. 81 points in one game with 13 free throws only. not 40. What I don't know how many.
Yeah, now what Bam did. Yeah.
He's always been to me the greatest basketball player I've ever watched.
Okay, Doc, you said no also.
I got to see Michael Jordan play live twice. I'm a Lakers season ticket holder for the entirety of Kobe's careers, 5 championships. But I got to see Michael Jordan play live twice. And as much as Kobe is the reason I'm on the radio, he is so important to all of us. But it's just like Deacon says, he got to see him. He got to see Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
If you saw him play live, outside of watching Allen Iverson put the fear of God into offense and defense, and he's not even 6 feet. He's the most incredible basketball player I've ever seen. But there's no doubt Michael Jordan did everything, just like The Godfather, the movie, like you say, is a perfect movie.
Yep.
He's a perfect basketball player.
Okay.
Like that.
Here you go. In economy, you should never recline your seat on an airplane. In economy, you should never recline your seat. Agree? Agree. Yeah, I don't feel comfortable doing it because you just don't know who's behind you, and when there's not enough room there, right?
It's just I just practice the golden rule. I don't want the person in front of me lean back.
To lean back. So why would you? Sure.
The person behind me.
Exactly.
I am a big believer that the vacation starts in the airport.
I love that. Yeah.
So I am not getting in a plane in economy ever again in my life.
You. Good for
I am only if I ain't going first class, I'm not going to wherever you want me to go.
Don't skip on travel.
I also skimp on travel. I do not fly business or first class all the time. It has to be a flight longer than 5 hours for me to spring for out of coach, because I'm just I don't know. Somebody is raised to be not cheap. That's not the right word. I was raised to be extremely responsible with money, and so to New York I'll go first class or business, but to Vegas I'm just going to go coach. All right, here you go. This is a good one. Being clutch is something you're born with. Something you're born with. Yes?
So I'm a surgeon amongst the many things that I do. And I've been in the OR where, what do we do now?
Right.
Where you make one move, the entire wound fills with blood, and you don't know where that artery is that just broke loose. And if you don't figure it out right now, that person's going to die right in front of you.
Yeah.
You can be the smartest guy in the room. You can be the whatever training, but I've seen a lot of people lose it.
Yeah.
And knock on wood, I've been there many times, and I'm proud of myself that I just know how to fix the problem and have gotten it done.
I also feel like clutchness can be a habit. Like I always look at, for example, like Kiki Hernandez is a 220 hitter during the season, and there's nobody you'd rather see at the plate during the postseason. So I think that once you get a hit or come through a couple of times, you start believing that you're the guy that comes through, and it sort of defines you. Does that make any sense?
Yes, but I want to ask you a question then.
Mm-hmm.
Are there really two different seasons? The regular season, the playoffs, i.e. also the World Series.
Right.
Is it two different games of baseball?
Well, on the surface, no, but in reality, yes. Playoff baseball is very different from regular season baseball, where everything comes down to a pitch, and at that, working deep into account, all that stuff. I guess my theory is that once it becomes a habit, you keep doing it. Deacon, you were off for a second there, but
Yeah, sorry about that.
Is clutchness something you're born with?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
I mean, you can say a lot for, just hard work, and that will, if you stick with whatever you practice, then, it'll eventually show itself. But you gotta be ready for those big moments, when some people would be shaking or trembling, high adrenaline. You know, you got to be able to put some ice in your veins and calm yourself down. You know, I don't think you can really teach that.
Okay, last one, guys. This is good. The wave should be banned at Dodger Stadium. The wave should be banned at Dodger Stadium. Agree, disagree. Okay. We got a little debate here. I will tell you that I find the wave to be so annoying. It's for people that aren't really watching the game. Doc, do you feel the same?
Yeah, and also the beach balls.
Oh, beach
I mean,
balls.
stop
Sorry,
it. You
beach
just
balls.
why don't you leave already? What you're gonna do before the game's over anyway at Dodger Stadium? Stop it. Don't ruin it for the rest of us.
Deacon, you like the wave?
I love the waves. Ever since I was a kid, I've always loved it. I think they should ban the fans that don't participate in the wave.
Would be banned. Although sometimes I do this. Just
That's good enough. As long as you do something.
that much wave
Stand up all the way.
is all I do. All right, Deacon, what's next for you, man? You got another couple of weekends at the Sphere?
Yeah, I've got 2 weeks off. So I'm home here in LA for 2 weeks, and then we're back there for one more weekend in April, and then we'll start rehearsals for a couple stadium shows.
Oh, nice. Do you
Yeah.
know where yet?
Yeah, I think Atlanta, Dallas, New Orleans.
Wow.
There might Nashville, I think.
Nice.
I should probably know where we're going.
Yeah. They'll tell you right before.
Just tell me you have a flight tomorrow. So okay.
There you go. And Doc, what's your next project? Is it like somebody's shoulder?
No, I'm doing an AI hologram project with William Shatner, who's 95.
Whoa.
And this is my idea. My hobby is sculpting in marble in the same stone Michelangelo used to make the David. So here's my idea. I want to put the stone back on the block that he used. And because so many of his sculptures are unfinished, where you can see the chisel marks for the forehead, the cheek, the chin, make a library with AI of his process. Because as a sculptor, I'm looking at his chisel marks to make your a forehead, and you're holding the chisel horizontal. But when you look at the unfinished chisel marks on Michelangelo, they're vertical. So it's like he's tapping me on the shoulder going, no, you got to go 90 degrees, which you would never do. So make a library of his process, put it in AI, and now a hologram of Michelangelo, and show us him making the David from a solid block.
Interesting. I told you, Deacon, raconteur, right?
Dude, that was crazy. That's cool.
He has
Thank
got
you.
always great conversation. And by the way, amazing. I went to his office, been to his office a couple of times. The sculptures that are in there out of marble are just absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that was fun. Thank you
That was
very much
super
for doing
fun.
this. Appreciate it.
Good to meet you, Deacon.
Yeah, you too, Doc.
We'll have you back on the show soon. Thanks for coming on, guys.
Would
Okay.
love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
There you have it, a little thumbs up, thumbs down with Dr. Klapper and with Deacon Frey. I'm telling you, if you can get in to see the Eagles at the Sphere, it is expensive, but man, it is just mind-blowing. Thank you very much for watching episode 4. Quick reminder, if you're on our ESPNLA YouTube channel, please smash the like button, subscribe to the show, leave us a comment, react to something we said, a guest idea, whatever you want on the YouTube channel. Really appreciate that. And then on Apple and on Spotify, please subscribe to the show, give us a 5-star rating, and again, a comment, a review, a guest idea, a reaction to something we said. All of it helps us as we grow the show. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you soon on Mason Plus.